Great. So let's start with the association Franc de Pied. I'm sure many of you know that Franc de Pied is the French expression for ungrafted or own roots, the vines that grow on their own roots. I'm sure you all know about that. So a few slides about this topic. Why do we care about Franc de Pied, ungrafted? Because of this guy that you all know as well, which is Phylloxera. Phylloxera is a small bug that came from America at the end of the 19th century. And as you see on this diagram, it has two different life cycles. It has an above ground life cycle that is attacking the leaves, as you can see on the picture. It's not so much damageable to the vine. It cannot kill the vine, and it's still there. It's everywhere in the vineyards. You can come across that kind of leaves with galls of Phylloxera. But below ground, it's a killer. With the below ground cycle, it attacks the roots and it destroys. It can destroy your vineyard in 1 year or even less. So it was a huge problem, and it first came in France. In the middle of the slide, you see 1863. It was observed in Pujol, which is a small village in Gard in southern France. Then it spread out. It spread out to all France. It spread out initially in Portugal, 1865, then all Spain, 1877, then northwards, including Germany, Switzerland, Austria, everywhere. So this bug had a very quick spread out from France, and it almost killed entirely the European viticulture until, I make a long story short because it's not the topic of the day, until we found a solution. And the solution was grafting. Grafting, for example, Cabernet Sauvignon, you have your scion, which is the Cabernet Sauvignon aerial part, and you graft it onto an American rootstock, for example, Couder 3309. Why? Because this rootstock is not Vitis vinifera. Vitis vinifera is the species that we find in Europe, and naturally, spontaneously, it does not grow in the United States, in America, but there are some other species of Vitis, and most or all of them are resistant to Phylloxera naturally. So you graft what you want on the American rootstock. That's what I would say 99% or even more of European vineyards had to do to be protected against Phylloxera, but not all of them. A small portion, and I'm speaking about Europe and the Near East, because if we expand the map, we would have to include Chile, for example. Almost 100% of Chile is ungrafted. But I focus on the ancient and old world, and the new world would be for another topic. So we still, as of today, we observe ungrafted vineyards in Europe and in the Near East, sometimes in very small pockets, because in these places, in these terroirs, in these soils, Phylloxera was not able to accomplish its underground life cycle. And most of the time, these are sandy soils or soils with less than 5% of clay in the soil. So we just published with my club, I just published a brochure or magazine called Divo Terroir, Franc de Pied. If you want to read it, it's in French or in German. I will send it to you for free with great pleasure. And this map comes from this magazine. In blue, you have the regions with a few ungrafted vineyards, almost everywhere in France, Italy, Spain, and elsewhere. And in pink or violet, you have the regions with ungrafted vineyards only. This is the case in the Canary Islands, for example. This is the case in the Colares region close to Lisbon, where all the vineyards are planted on sandy soils. Also in the Balearic Island, many volcanic islands do not have Phylloxera problem because it cannot accomplish the cycle underground. The region of Sulcis in southern Sardinia is also free of Phylloxera because all the vineyards are on sandy soils. For example, let's go towards the east. We have Santorini, Rhodes, Cyprus. All of Cyprus is Phylloxera free, with a few exceptions, or Armenia, etc. So what I want to do is to focus on these. And now you have a few more slides about these locations, many names that you know. So you can find also in Corsica, in Campania, many very old vines in Campania in Italy, for example, and also in Turkey. We heard our friends from Turkey who are safeguarding the old vines, and my friend Umay Çeviker gave me many information about Turkey regarding ungrafted vineyards. So all of this I've tried to gather in one website. You can visit this also for free, where I list all the wines that are made from ungrafted vineyards in the ancient and the old world. Nothing from the new world, because it would be too big. And as of today, I think I have more than 350 that are available on the market and that come from ungrafted vineyards, many times very, very old vineyards. So it's free for you to check and have a look. Now I want to speak about the association Franc de Pied. It was founded last year only, so it's a very young association by Loïc Pasquet on the left, whom you might know for being the man behind Liber Pater, which is the most expensive wine in the world. I dare not even say the price. Then we have Jacques Rigaud, who he's a psychanalyst, he's a doctor, and also an expert of terroir, especially the terroir in Burgundy. Andrea Polidoro, who is an enologist at Cupano, famous winery in Tuscany, and Egon Müller, crafting one of the best and also sought after and expensive Riesling in Germany in the world. So this association was founded in 2021, and in 22 we created a scientific committee. So maybe some of the faces you know: Alain Deloire, who is a professor of viticulture at INRA, again Jacques Rigaud; Gabriel Lepouzet, he's a neurobiologist specialized in wine tasting; Marc-André Solos, who is a biologist and also a specialist of mycorrhizae, so the symbiosis between the plants and the fungus on the ground; Olivier Llobrega, who is agronomist, specialist of viticulture, and myself being a grape geneticist. So this is the group, and one of the first aim is to promote and to create a network around all the ungrafted vineyards in first of all in Europe, but then in the whole world. We welcome everyone. Some of the faces you might know in this slide: Thibault Ligier-Belair, we have Hubert Boisdron, we have Dirk Nipport, we have Marco Zambata, we have Philippe Apato. We have almost 200 producers at the moment who have joined the association. And one of the aims of the association is the creation of two different labels. The first one would be called, in French probably, Franc de Pied Héritage Original. So as you can read it, original heritage, which means the own-rooted vineyards are planted with indigenous varieties in their homeland. So for example, if you have, like Loïc Pasquet did, Cabernet Sauvignon ungrafted in Bordeaux, then you have this label, because Cabernet Sauvignon originates from Bordeaux. If you have ungrafted Nebbiolo in Piemonte, you will have this label, because it's the original vine in its birthplace ungrafted. On the opposite, if you have, for example, old Carmenère in Chile, Carmenère comes from France originally, but old Carmenère in Chile would have the second label, Franc de Pied only, which means that they have own-rooted vineyards. And I put the symbol of DNA in between because for the creation and to obtain this label, you will need to prove it by DNA profiling. And I can tell you, this is my expertise is very easy. You take one sample of the root, one sample of the leaf, and you compare it. And if they are different, it means that your vine is grafted. If they are identical, it means that your vine is ungrafted. So this is very interesting because many of the old vineyards have the shape of the trunk is so gnarled and so big, you cannot see if it was grafted or not with the human eye. So with very old vines, You can tell by DNA profiling, by comparing a sample from the root and sample from the leaf, if it was grafted or not. And this is also interesting for many producers in the Old Vine Conference group. And this is this science fiction? I don't think so. We want to show, or to answer the question, are ungrafted vineyards giving better wines? Well, we are all convinced, but this is not science. It's just feeling. We feel that it goes deeper, it expresses the terroir better, but this is only a feeling, and we would like to show this by field experiments. So it's a work in progress. We are still working on it. But what we would have to do is to plant on sandy soils vines that are grafted and ungrafted. So G is grafted, U is ungrafted, and we have to mix them together. So we don't have the effect of micro soil differences. You need to have repetition of this. So 4 times the same in the same place, then 4 different places with this pattern over 4 years. And we will measure everything from budding, from flowering, from yields, from acidity, all the parameters. And after 4 years, we would have the answer. But this is not done yet. We need to find funding, we need to find people. So this is one of the aim of the association, and maybe even further. We want to register ungrafted vineyards in the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage. And this will be also a very long process, probably more than 5 or 7 years. But this is our aim, and we wish that we will be one day able to have this. So we have also a partnership with the Old Vine Conference, and as I said, there are many synergies, there are many things that we can join together with the Old Vine Conference and everyone that is growing old vines, because maybe some of them are ungrafted. And if you want to join the association, so just go on fronddepied.org and you will have all the information. The website is still under construction. We are a young association, but we are sure that we will develop more and more in the future. So that's it for now. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.